with you, the Chief Financial Officer of Fulton County. So I appreciate your cooperation with me to arrange a good time where we could be as less inconvenient to each of you as possible. I also want to thank you for your responsiveness to a subpoena that we had issued that asked for maybe more information that even I recognize might be responsive to it. And I have a notebook here that you've provided with us, and I understand there will be additional documents coming. If you want to just supplement those, I've spoken with your county attorney as able here in the next few days or weeks. I would appreciate that. But I did want to thank you for making the effort to be responsive on relatively short notice here. And thank you for being here with us today. Would you just introduce yourself and have Sharon introduce herself to the committee, please, sir?
I'm Rob Pitts. I chair.
Hang on, let me make sure I got you lit up here. There we go.
All right. I'm Rob Pitts. I chair the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County, Georgia.
All righty. And Sharon?
Good morning. Sharon Whitmore, the county's Chief Financial Officer.
You can pull that microphone closer to you if you want to. We had a little difficulty last meeting. Sometimes the volume's kind of fading in and out a little bit. That will allow us to hear you clearly. And also this is being streamed live, and so anybody that may be watching on their computers at home will be able to hear the testimony that you give. I am going to start with a couple of formalities here. We have in your folders, ladies and gentlemen, the minutes from our first two meetings. The first one was held on February 9th, 2024. The Secretary of the Senate has prepared these minutes, and maybe a little tedious of a job, but easy because we are recorded, and so it's very easy to verify the accuracy. I did notice, Senator Estevez, we misspelled your name on one of them, I think, and we will too on both of them. We will correct that. And I told them, you being an attorney, it's going to be hard to slip anything by you on these, so we will correct those spellings as part of any approval of these meetings. Have you all had an opportunity? We sent these out in advance to review these minutes before today. Any committee members need additional time to review them before we take action? All right, then I am open for a motion to approve the minutes of the February 9th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion by Senator Dolezal. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Kennedy. Any discussion or any review, proposed changes or corrections to the minutes of February 9th? All right, then all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, like sign? All right, those are approved. Now turning to the March 6, 2024 meetings. Has everybody had an opportunity to review these thoroughly? All right, is there a motion?
Move to adopt the March 6 minutes as presented.
And with the amendment of the spelling correction, accept that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? And likewise, we will vote. All in favor, raise your hand of approving those minutes. Any opposed? All right, they are unanimously adopted. You'll also notice in your folder just a copy of our Senate committee rules. I put these in here because we did have some questions posed to us from the Fulton County Commission as they were preparing their responses to make sure what their timeliness was and how to object. I would like to state to you, Chairman Pitts and Ms. Whitmore, y'all should be aware that we have confidentiality rules on this committee. If there are any documents responsive to our subpoena that you feel like contain confidential information that should not be disclosed to the public, because we are creating a public record here, please identify those to me, and I will, in accordance with our rules, deem them confidential and shielded from public view. I know that just in conversations with your county attorney, I know Sue has told me there are certain things that she has redacted in these, if anything that dealt with the birth date, social security numbers, health information of any of the employees of the county. And that is certainly fine. That's what we're trying to accomplish, to make sure that we are protecting documents that should be confidential, but also obtaining the records that we need to complete our investigation, and with the understanding that the vast majority of anything we ask for are in the public domain anyway. These are public government records that should be accessible to the general public, but also to the state Senate to conduct our work here. So thank you, and just let me know before we post anything on the website, any documents, if there are any that you feel like need to be shielded or protected in any way. Fair enough? All righty. Before we get started, I will need to swear each of you in. Mr. Pitts, I'll start with you. If you will raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear the testimony that you will give before this committee this morning will be the truth, the whole truth, and to the best of your knowledge and ability?
I do.
All right. And Ms. Whitmore, would you likewise? You swear the testimony you'll provide this morning will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right. We have our court reporter present. We'll be making a transcript of all the testimony, and we're happy to share that with you. It will become part of the public record afterwards. If you later want to correct any answers or add information, we welcome that. And I will state before we begin, as we say every meeting, that our Senate website is set up that if anybody from the public has information you think might be relevant to our investigation, feel free to reach out to us and provide any information that could be relevant to us, and let us know if you would like to testify before this committee as our process unfolds throughout the summer and the fall. Mr. Pitts, let me get you just to give us a little brief background. You and I know each other,
Yes,
and I think most people in Fulton County know of you from your long history of public service. If you would tell us a little bit about the position you hold and how long you've been in the chairman's post and any other political service before that, I think it might give some context.
Thank you, Senator, Mr. Chairman. I've been, as you've indicated, been involved as an elected official for many years. I look at Senator Butler, and I kind of count sometimes to figure out just who is still standing. And I'm sorry that you're going to be leaving us. But I began my political career in Atlanta as a member of the Atlanta City Council. I served there for 20 years as a member of the Atlanta City Council. Then I was elected as president of the city council. I served 4 years as president. Then I moved over to the county, where I served for, I think, 12 years as a member of the commission, as a commissioner. And for the last 7 or 8 years, I have been privileged to serve as chair of the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County.
All right. And as in that position, how often does your commission meet? Is it twice a month?
We
or
meet the first and third Wednesdays of every month.
Okay. Is it part of the duties and responsibilities of the Fulton County Commission to establish the budget for the district attorney's office and some supervision of that office?
We establish the budget for the district attorney as well as all other departments for final approval.
And when you're formulating the budgets, does the district attorney submit to you a budget request for public funding?
The process, and I'll defer to our chief financial officer, but there's a process where the department heads appear before the manager and the finance team to explain their requests, and then from there it comes to us for final approval. You might want to clarify.
So the budgets of all the county departments, including the district attorney's office, are ultimately approved by the county commission?
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Whitmore, if it's okay with you, I may bounce back and forth between witnesses because I understand, as the chairman just deferred to you, there are areas where you have particular expertise. Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Brenda, I'm not going to make your life as miserable as you're sitting there thinking right now. Our court reporter is going to try to keep a transcript, but you will occasionally have to go back and forth between witnesses. I will have, I'm going to have Ms. Whitmore later, a direct line of questioning her, but I may periodically let her chime in here, okay? All right. Sharon, tell us a little bit about that, how that budgeting process works.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pitt's description is the general process. Actually, every department of county government, including constitutional officers and elected officials, submit a annual budget request through our budget development application. Those requests are reviewed, vetted, and verified through our budget office. The county's budget ordinance is designed in a way that the budget is developed and presented to the Board of Commissioners as a recommendation from the Office of the County Manager. So we have a review process that we undertake with the county manager and members of his executive team to review the requests that are presented. Typically, we provide each agency with a base budget figure to start with, and then they are allowed to submit what we call budget enhancements, where they can ask for additional resources to just continue an existing program, to expand an existing program, or to establish a new program or service. We also have a separate process that we run simultaneously as the operating budget for a capital budget requests, and there is a capital budget review committee that receives and vets all of those requests, and they are then in turn taken into consideration at the same time as operating budget requests, because we only have one pool of resources to use. So we consider all of those at the same time. So our constitutional officers and elected officials submit their requests through the same channels. Sometimes they may choose not to come and present to the county manager's office, and then choose instead to communicate their budget needs directly with the Board of Commissioners. So that, in a nutshell, is the county budget process.
And when you talk about capital expenditures, is that like new automobiles for police departments, new buildings, new expenditures on things along those other than personnel?
Yes, sir. Rolling stock, heavy equipment, facility renovation, new facilities, facility expansion, all of that would come through our capital portal process.
So when we talk about building a new county jail, that's a capital project?
That is one very significant capital project, yes, sir.
Can you give us just a feel for what the size of Fulton County's annual budget is?
All funds included, it's about $1.2 billion.
And do you have readily available what amount of general funds from the county are allocated to the district attorney's office on an annual basis? I guess we'll just talk about this year to start with.
In 2024, the district attorney's allocation was $36.6 million from the general fund.
Okay. Chairman Pitts has tried to explain to me that there are several buckets of funds that are used to fund the district attorney's office. Would you kind of run that through for me as to what additional funding over and above the $36.6 million of general funds from county tax revenues that are allocated to the district
Yes,
attorney?
sir. The district attorney, in addition to the county's general fund resources, also has resources that are available through the confiscated asset forfeiture fund, as well as the victims witness assistance fund, federal asset forfeiture funds, and we keep all of these in separate funds, and then a number of different grants that come through the state and federal grant process. And then since really the middle of 2021, when we developed our spending program for the resources that we received through the American Rescue Act. The district attorney has also had resources available for what we call our Project Orca, which is our court backlog project that was funded out of our ARPA resources.
Okay, let me slow down on that one just a minute. Did you say Project Orca, like an orca whale?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that acronym, does that stand for something you could help tell us?
It's more, I guess, visual than that. It just was intended to mean that it was a very, an orca is a very large ocean mammal, and the court backlog that we had as a result of the slowdown in the court system during the pandemic was also very large. So the individual who was charged with developing a program to address the court backlog named it Project Orca, but it is our official court backlog reduction program.
And this is funded through federal funds?
Through our ARPA resources, yes, sir.
Right. And the ARPA money was put in to sort of help all the states recover from the COVID epidemic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know the amount of ARPA funds that were allocated to the district attorney's office or the ORCA project?
I don't have that number available with me today, but I can share it.
And as far as the expenditures of that fund, is that anything that the county commission had authority or discretion over where the money went, how it was spent?
Specifically, is your question specific to the ARPA resources themselves?
Yes.
Yes, sir. They determined where and how our ARPA resources would be utilized. The county executive team made a recommendation, and the Board of Commissioners adopted that recommendation, and we have modified it over the course of time as we have continued to execute on our spend for the ARPA resources.
And one of the areas you allocated some of the ARPA funding was to this ORCA project.
Yes, sir. In total, about $75 million is what we allocated to Project Orca.
And who else was allocated funds through the ORCA project in addition to the district attorney's office?
Most of the partners from our justice system received funding out of the Project Orca resources. The district attorney's office, the state court, superior court, magistrate court, public defender, the sheriff's department. I believe juvenile court received some. So we took a look across the entire justice system to see where we would need to plug in some additional resources in order to develop a work plan to, bring our backlog that had accumulated, to bring those numbers down.
So if $75 million was applied to the ORCA project, do you know what amount of the $75 million went to the district attorney's office?
I don't have the exact dollar amount with me. I can tell you that she did receive funding to cover 75 positions, which was the highest number of positions that were provided across the justice agencies. But I'm sorry, I didn't bring that. I don't have that number with me, and I don't know it off the top of my head.
I'm not certain if we even requested that. I know that you are continuing to compile for me the essentially the ledger or roster of employees employed by the district attorney's office, and I suppose we'll be able to break this out as you compile that data, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many employees in the district attorney's office now?
I believe she has about 277 employees, plus the positions in ORCA, so a little over 300, maybe 340.
And that would include assistant district attorneys and investigators and secretarial help, the entire spectrum of staff.
Yes, sir.
Will the ORCA funds expire anytime soon or be exhausted? I know if they came through ARPA, that's sort of winding down at this point, right?
Yes, sir. We are undertaking an effort currently to ramp down our ORCA spend within the $75 million that was allotted and within the general time frame that was provided for the spending to occur, which is 12/31/2024.
So we're at the tail end, the last year of that, huh?
Yes, sir.
The way you described the budget process sounds very similar to the state budget process, where it's almost a continuation budget from the year before, and then there are requests for additions, increases if you need more staff or if circumstances have changed or need to make a capital expenditure.
Yes, sir. I mean, we tend to start from the previous year and build onto that. If a department received funding in a previous year that was not intended to be part of their recurring budget, then we make adjustments for that. That's why I said we provide them with a base budget, so that base budget each year will reflect the ins and the outs from, whatever transpired in the previous year's budget cycle. So if a department received funding for a particular project or purpose that's not intended to happen on an annual basis, then we pull those monies back out and readjust their and realign their base budget.
Okay. How much detail does the district attorney's office provide when they make their annual budget request? Is it fairly itemized by employee, by expenditure type, where it goes?
In our process, we provide them with a line item version of their budget in our budget development application. We provide them with a position summary. So we give them a report of all of their positions, and it's as of a point in time, and they are required to make any corrections to that position summary report, because that becomes the basis for their salary and fringe benefit budget for the base year. And then they are allowed to go in and align the operating portion of their budget in whatever manner suits their operational needs. We do have a couple of object codes that we really do not allow them to deviate much from, because they are necessary to fund things like our risk management fund. So, we have an object code specifically for that. That's a rate times the number of positions that you have. So there's no deviation there. But they do have the ability to go in and adjust their budget. They are requested to provide details, contract names and amounts for specific contracts. So like our Department of Real Estate and Asset Management would come in and identify their contractors that they have and their contracts that they have for things like janitorial services. If they have professional service contractors, they would identify them. It is an ask. Some departments do a better job of others than, providing a lot of detail and support for their asks. So, we spend a lot of time and a lot of back and forth trying to understand, especially when they have submitted for an enhancement request or a new program, trying to make sure that they've put everything in that they should be including in those requests. But they do have the opportunity to align it how they would like to see it and provide detailed explanations for their requests.
Okay. And Chairman Pitts, back to you just for a minute. That's why I was letting her get into the minutia there, because I know that's why you hired her, right?
That's correct.
Okay. The way you've explained it to me is that with certain elected officials that are provided for under the Georgia Constitution, like the district attorney's office and the sheriff's department, these are elected officials, and our state constitution provides the sort of parameters of their authority and responsibilities, right?
That's correct.
For those, particularly those two, a sheriff and a district attorney, do you micromanage their budget, or is it fairly well left within their authority under the state constitution?
Well, they're what we call constitutional officers, and we have 3 or 4 of those. And then the district attorney is in a sort of a different category. But also, now I'll have to defer to get the correct terminology from our county attorney. But constitutional officers believe that once their budget has been approved by the Board of Commissioners, then they are free to manage that budget any way they see fit. And that's because of this law, I suppose, that gives them that authority.
So you can't micromanage their spending once you've granted them the budget, appropriated the money to them from the general funds?
Probably not. And that's, I guess the answer to that would be no, we cannot.
But essentially, you don't have to appropriate money to them unless they can justify for you why they need it and what they intend to spend it for. The
Well,
line item listing that Ms. Whitmore just referenced.
right. When the departmental budget comes to us, and say, even with the constitutional officers, there are line items, but we fund the line items, and that results in a total. But once we've approved it, they can disregard the line items that we have approved, and therein lies, I guess, a source of conflict from time to time.
Do you have a good grasp on exactly how much money runs through the DA's office budget every year? You know, 36.6 million comes from your general funds from the taxpayers of Fulton County. And then they have money that they get from these forfeitures and from a portion of fine money. And then they may have grants, et cetera, both state and federal on top of that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the state itself funds a certain number of positions, including the district attorney's salary and a certain number of assistant district attorneys based on the number of judges in the circuit.
That's my understanding, yes,
Okay.
sir. But we do not monitor that. And what we are aware of is that the 36 plus million that comes from the general fund, and rarely do we keep up with how much they've received from grants or fines and forfeitures and things of that nature.
Right. That's something that's within the control of the district attorney's office.
Correct.
Okay. Do they ever report that amount to you? I mean, it would seem in the course of making a budget request to you, they need to show a need for money, and that would necessarily require them to show you what they're getting from other sources to figure out what they need from you.
As a matter of course, that is not provided to us. Now, whether that is made available during the budget process with staff, I'm not sure.
We will look at other sources that they have available when they're asking for an enhancement to see if there is another source that could be used instead of the general funds. And I guess I would just like to perhaps add a little clarification to what the chairman just said about the other sources of funds. Those are maintained on the county's financial system. So we do have the federal asset forfeitures, the confiscated assets. There are buckets of those. They are presented to the board in the special appropriation grant funds. The board, there is no reporting that comes forward to the board on those, and because the board isn't authorizing those resources, they come from other sources. There isn't a lot that comes back to the board on those. From a grant perspective, like a federal grant perspective, we do present the grant applications that are made on our grant activity report to the board. And again, the grant activities and reporting are captured on the county's financial system and are included in our required single audit report each year. So that's the reporting. But there is no other reporting that is completed on those funds by the district attorney to the Board of Commissioners.
But from your accounting standpoint, you're the chief financial officer. When these funds from whatever source get deposited in a bank account, somebody's got to make an entry. The deposit was made and where it came from.
Yes, sir. So if resources are received, then they are presented over to the county treasury. They're deposited, and within these funds, then the spending credit, if you will, is provided to the agency that's receiving the funds. We have, multiple agencies that receive federal asset forfeiture funds and confiscated asset funds. So we track it by each department within those funds, and when the resources are received, they are given credit for them. On the grants, many of the grants are, of course, drawdown grants. So we're spending the county's resources first and seeking reimbursement from the granting agency. So whatever the required drawdown process is, our grants administration office in the finance department would be involved in assisting and facilitating the the financial reporting requirements. Programmatic reporting requirements are typically managed directly by the department or agency that has received the grant. But our grant administration unit will ensure that the whatever periodic required financial reporting is complete, and that the drawdowns are completed on a timely basis so that the county is not fronting that money for too long of a period of time.
And tell me what you just referenced, a single audit. What did you mean by that?
That's the audit that any entity that receives a federal grant is required to have completed on an annual basis. Our external auditors complete the single audit. It is a specific audit of all federal and state grant funds.
And is that broken out between your various county agencies and departments, including the district attorney's office?
Yes, the auditors have a requirement to identify major programs and audit on a risk basis, and so they determine which programs may get a more thorough and very specific audit process. But all of the grants are included, and all of the information that they ask for is provided to them as part of that single audit process.
Right. So is that a written document report that you would receive every year?
The single audit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And is that a requirement of each agency, including the district attorney's office, to provide the requested data and information to the auditor?
It is, yes.
By reviewing that, are you able to pretty well track all of the spending of grant funds anyway by the district attorney's office?
At a summary level.
Right.
It's not detailed. It just basically gives you, the total amounts.
Of what was received and
Expended,
what was
yes,
spent?
sir.
Does it give a category of the spending?
I believe that it's just listed by the individual grants.
Okay. Would that explain or reveal to you what personnel was paid for by specific grants?
It is not. The report itself is not at that level of detail.
All right.
No.
Is that provided to you in any way? In your role as CFO, do you get to see, which employees are funded by county money versus a federal grant versus a state grant versus a combination?
Yes, that information would be available to me again. When those grants are awarded and received, we establish the budget. If personnel expenses are included in the grant award, then the budget office will work with the recipient agency to ensure that the appropriate positions are created and established within the grant to ensure that they comply with whatever the application and the budget document that was presented to the granting agency includes.
And we've had conversations before this morning as you've tried to explain to me some of these different funding sources. It seems to me like on a lot of the staff attorney or assistant DA positions and other investigators and other folks that are working for the DA's office, that their salary is paid partly by the state with a local supplement, a county supplement. Explain that to our committee so we can figure this portion out.
Yeah, there are a handful of positions, assistant district attorneys, deputy district attorneys, investigator, maybe some legal assistants who are paid by the state and supplemented by the county. So we call them state supplemented positions. And I'm not 100% on what the total number is right now. I think it's somewhere between 15 and 20. I'm not sure which of those are filled. So that's part of the information that we have yet to finalize to be able to provide to you.
Still trying to break that out exactly.
Yes, sir.
That's paid.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So what about an employee of the DA's office's health insurance benefits? Is that paid by the state of Georgia, the state health benefit plan, or by Fulton County's health plan?
Positions that are 100% county funded positions are paid by the county. I will have to have one of the supplemental positions pulled. At one point in time, under a previous district attorney, some of them were receiving county benefits. I'm not certain at this point with DA Willis if they are also receiving county benefits or not. So I will actually need to go and pull that information.
And what about retirement funds? I know state employees are eligible for state retirement benefits. Do you have county retirement benefits for these county employees?
Fulton County has a closed defined benefit plan that closed in 1999. If there are employees in the district attorney's office who were employed by the county and participated in that plan and chose to stay in it, then they would be eligible for a defined benefit pension upon their retirement from the county. We also have, since that point in time, had a defined contribution plan in place that is available to full-time county employees. We have amended it over time to include or exclude certain groups. As we've learned, certain groups have been added into and out of other plans. So full-time employees have the benefit of that defined contribution plan.
And that would be at the cost to Fulton County taxpayers rather than state taxpayers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there may be 2 or 3 of us working as assistant DAs under Ms. Willis, and if I'm one of the state-funded positions, I would be receiving a different type of health insurance plan possibly and a different type of retirement plan than my colleague that's a supplemental employee that's funded by the county alone.
Possibly, yes, sir.
Okay.
I will confirm that in our response.
What about folks that are independent contractors of the DA's office, like a special counsel, special assistant DA? How are they paid?
They are treated as professional services and paid as if they were a county vendor.
And do you consider them then a county employee or a county vendor or an independent contractor?
A independent contractor with a receipt of a vendor payment.
And as far as benefits from those type of independent contractors, would they receive any health insurance benefits or retirement benefits at all?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you, in the county level, have any control over what they're paid?
No, sir. That's at the discretion of the district attorney.
Does the district attorney, and I'm going to shift back to you, Chairman Pitts, have to advise you of what's going on with these independent contractors that are being hired?
No, sir.
Okay. Do they have to request funding from you? And is that in the budget request that I need X amount for a specific prosecutor or as a category of assistance that I need to get from an independent contractor?
Well, let me try to answer that question this way. First of all, we have what's called outside counsel, and I'm going to make a distinction between outside counsel and a special prosecutor.
All right, explain that one to us.
Right. An outside counsel is hired when the county attorney determines that there's a need for assistance. She then, in this case, she will make a recommendation to the board and explain why she needs outside counsel. She makes that recommendation to us, and if we agree, and that's typically done in executive session, and if we agree, then we will take a public vote and authorize the hiring on the recommendation of the county attorney of outside counsel. And we have a range, an hourly rate. I'm not sure what that hourly rate is, nor whether that's really relevant, but there's a range that we pay outside counsel. And that's different from a special prosecutor.
Would outside counsel have anything to do with criminal prosecutions, or are they representing the county's interest in other type of matters?
Let me,
Do you know?
Joe. Yeah. Yeah, I got the right answer. I was going to, I thought I was right, but I wanted to make sure. We don't hire outside counsel for criminal matters.
All right, that would be for dealing with other county legal matters that you needed extra help from somebody other than the county attorney's office.
Would be more civil. Primarily civil versus criminal.
So who's the brains back there behind you you're consulting with?
It's a
Chairman?
county attorney,
What's her name?
Sue Joe.
Sue Joe.
Yes.
And that's S-O-O and then J-O?
Yes,
I got
sir.
that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Joe, I may ask you to share some information with us. You're not under subpoena and it won't be sworn testimony, but if it comes a time where you can help sort of enlighten us, you just let us know, or else you can keep letting the chairman know.